What's up, Graceway? We have a special Throwback Thursday for you this week. Kirk Martin from Celebrate Calm is here with us, and we're going to show you his teaching from our parenting conference that he led. So sit back, relax, and enjoy Kirk's message.
So let's go through some this internal motivation thing. So I want to set it up like this. Before I forget, I have a really good idea for school stuff. Many of your kids, when they bring their report card home, it's just like, ugh, it's a sign of their failure. Here, look at my failure. So I would encourage you with some of these kids, create your own report card. And here's what I mean by that. It's not that you're going to deny. So when they come home with their report card, you're going to look at their school report card and say, hey, looks like you brought that grade up. Looks like you're struggling in that area. You need a tutor. You need some help with that because I'll give you tools. I'll help you with that. Personally, with Casey, I'd say, okay, not a great grade in that class, but that's okay because that's an unimportant class and you're not going to use it in life. And I'm okay with that. You don't have to do the same thing, but I was trying to draw distinctions. I was like, well, if you're going to stink at a class, maybe may as well make it something that you're not going to use in life. So, because I know the way he was. But I'd also have my own report card, and I'd say, school report card is important, but it's not the most important thing. The report card that we have in our home are the 5 qualities that we've determined are necessary for success in life. Whatever those are, leadership, compassion, right? Initiative, all of these other qualities, critical thinking skills, helping other people, serving. And so I would have for Casey a report card where I'd say, school report card, not bad, not the best. Do a little bit better, give you some tools. That class you'll probably never do that well in because he wasn't ever good in science. I didn't make a big deal out of it. Why? Because I knew he wasn't going to be a scientist. So I'm not going to freak out. But Casey, leadership, all over it. Compassion and serving other people. And I'd have examples and I'd say, here are the qualities that I really want you to focus on to be successful in life. And in that area, you're doing really well. School, you'll probably always struggle a little bit. That's me. It's up to you how you want to do that. So how many of you have kids, have a child who does well in school, right? And that's awesome. And it's really good. So think about this. Picture that child. That child is sitting in school every day. We're doing homeschooling, but sitting in school, and they're doing their work, and they're really good at school. They're using their gifts, and they're getting rewarded. You got an A, honor roll, honors classes. You're going to go to college. It feels good. They're confident because they use their gifts. Now you have the strong-willed child, or whatever you want to call it, the child with some special needs, and they're sitting in school all day, not doing that well all the time. What happens? Starts to hurt their confidence, and they start to shut down. The way that you build confidence is not by telling your kids they're awesome. The way you build confidence comes from competence, being good at something. The hard part that you're going to struggle with these kids is their particular gifts and passions tend to be ones that they don't get grades for, right? How many of your kids can just take something apart and put it back together or build something? If they could get grades for their Lego projects, they'd have all A's. So here's what I encourage you to do. 3-step process. Make a list of your child's gifts, talents, and passions. What are their natural gifts, their natural talents, their national passions? What are they drawn to? Make that list, because I guarantee you if your child's a little older, the list that you have running through your head is all the things that they don't do well and that they never do. And that comes out of our heart, and that's all we ever talk about. You couldn't do that. Make a list, whatever it is. If they're good at building with things, if they're very creative, if they're good at arguing, good. Future attorney. So this particular learning style. Make that list related to that. Who do your kids connect well with? How many of your kids connect well with animals? Okay, it's there for a reason. We've got to use it. Younger kids, maybe your kid's great with younger kids, and some of them with seniors. Younger kids doesn't mean siblings, because that doesn't count. But younger kids, make that list. Second step, give them opportunities to use their natural gifts, talents, and passions outside the home. In the neighborhood, the community, school, church. Thirdly, accountable to another adult. Other adults can do 2 things for older kids that you can't do. They can see good things in your child because they don't live with your child. And, look, if you brought your strongest willed child to me, I would immediately see all the good stuff that I like. I'd be like, wow, he can really tear on a conversation. He's really bright. He can pick out my inconsistencies, whatever they are. I can pick them out because I don't have to live with them. Other adults can also hold your kids accountable in ways that you can't. Because how many of your kids, remember we said, how many of your kids are awesome for other people and horrible for you? So here are a few examples of how we do that. So this is a cool one. This is last year, about a year ago. Was at a workshop, and a mom sitting right over there came up during the break, and she's like, I've got a 12-year-old daughter, and she's shut down. Bad attitude, doesn't want to do her school, won't do anything for around the house. She's just shut down. What consequence can I give? I was like, you've probably already done them all. So tell me about your daughter. So tells me the negative. I don't want to know the negative. I already know the negative. What does she love to do? So I found out this in about a minute and a half. She loves soccer, and she really, really connects well with little kids. So here is the plan. Told the mom, go find a soccer coach in your community. Go up to him and say, hey, you're coaching these little kids. They're all running around. My daughter's 12. She's awesome. She will come and help you. You don't have to pay her. She loves being with little kids. Would you mind if she came out on Tuesday night and helped you out with your practice? So it's like, I could use a little bit of help. So the girl goes out. It's a Tuesday evening, because I remember it's Tuesday because her mom emailed me with this. Girl goes on Tuesday evening, helps out, and guess what happened at the end of that practice? 8 little girls came up and gave her a hug. Why? Because little girls think older girls are kind of cool. And that girl, 12-year-old, loved on those little kids. You think she came home that night with a bad attitude, or you think she came home on cloud 9? Because she's using the gifts that God gave her, and those gifts are calling out to her. And she had a chance. She didn't get a chance to use those all day in school. She got a chance at that soccer field. So coach is like, hey, you're helpful. Come back Saturday. We've got a game. So she goes, helps out, and it's awesome. Something cool happened. A couple of the parents come up to her and say, hey, my daughter loves you. Talks about you all day. When do we get to see Rebecca? Rebecca, my daughter's struggling in school. Would you mind tutoring my daughter? Not knowing that Rebecca has not done schoolwork for like 3 years, right? But watch, this is really important. Now that 12-year-old girl has a reason to do schoolwork, and has a reason because she's using her gifts to help other people. Does that make sense? Now the accountability. Young lady, I want you coming to all my practices and games. But if I hear that you're mouthing off at your mother, not keeping a B average and not doing your chores, you're not working with these little girls, because they're looking for a leader, and that's what I'm looking for. And guess what he got from her? Yes, sir. Does that make sense? It's the back door with these kids. We want to do well in school. Stop focusing on school. Use their gifts. 14-year-old boy, same thing, except he's into computers and electronics. Hey, what do you want to do in life? I want to be a video game designer. Shocker, right? The only thing worse is I'm going to be a YouTuber and make money. Okay, you're going to be a millionaire too. And I'm Kim Kardashian. So it's not going to work. So who do you connect with? Old people, older people, seniors. By the way, senior citizens are awesome for strong-willed kids. Take advantage of that older couple or that old lady in your neighborhood, in your church. They are unused and untapped people because they have a lifetime of wisdom, and they just sit and watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune every night. And I guarantee you, if you go to them and say, I've got this tough kid. Would you mind tutoring? Would you mind doing homework? You want to do some homework? Could he come down to your house? You bake him some cookies, do some. Older people are patient. They have all the time in the world. They do. But they also don't put up with any crap. My mom's in a wheelchair. She would love on all of your kids. But if they got a little attitude, she would tell them, I will get up out of this wheelchair, I will hunt you down with my cane, and I will beat you. Not physically, but you know what I mean. There's something really beautiful. Don't be afraid to ask people for help with the strong-willed kids. You've got 3 kids. Ask the old lady down the neighborhood, would you mind if Jacob comes down a couple afternoons a week? Because he'll change your light bulb, he'll rake your leaves, but could you do the math homework? Because you've got retired teachers all over the place. And they love to help your kids. And your child will listen to the other person, because that old lady's not going to stand over your child like you do, saying, you know what, if you would just focus, you'd be done in 45 minutes instead of it taking 3 hours, right? So use older people. So here's what happens. You've got to get the other person to approach your child. So at church one day, by the way, great way to get your kids to church. A couple quick things. Many of them don't want to go to children's church because they're bored. Yeah, I know. I've been doing Noah's Ark since I was like 3. Got it. Flood, ark, animals. Got it, rainbow. Let me listen to the pastor and pick out all of his inconsistencies, right? So you know what we did with Casey? Because he wouldn't go to children's church, and we would bribe him, do everything, but he was like demon possessed, and he put his hands like in the doorway and screaming, and we were like, and we did what you do. You know what? He's got allergies. He's just got allergy. How many of you blame it on sickness? No, he just doesn't. So we let him sit in regular people church, adult church, and he loved it because they're old souls often. So don't be afraid to do it differently with that. Anyway, but get kids to church. Sometimes we've done this because they don't want to go because they're bored, whatever. You get one of the sound guys back there, talk to your child and say, hey, I've heard you're really into music and audio stuff. I could use your help. Could you get here like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before church every Sunday? You can help me, right? You can help me test the mic out. Now, you got your kid to church because he's helping out, right? And then you guys can give him little jobs to do and errands around the church. He's here, he's listening, soaking it up. But anyway, it's a neat way to do it. So, seniors ministry comes to this kid and says, hey, got all these seniors, meet Wednesday night at 6, early, eat dinner together. They all want to get on Facebook so they can keep up with their kids and grandkids. Would you come and teach them how to do that Wednesday night? Love that. So you know what happened to this kid? He gets there, 10 senior citizens love on him. Man, you're good at this. Have you ever thought about going to college for IT? You can make a lot of money in IT. And because it's other people talking to him about college and not his stupid parents, he's listening. Does that make sense? Right? One more. Those of you with kids with animals, one is service projects, by the way. Get your kids involved in service projects. Really good for them. We used to feed people when we lived in Nashville. We'd go down every Friday night and feed the homeless. There are a lot of homeless people in Nashville. They're all musicians, right? And so they taught, no, they are. I mean, it's like, we're going to move to Nashville and make it. No, you're not. And so there are a lot of them. And Casey would sit down with them, take his guitar down, and they would show him how to, they taught him, Casey learned how to play guitar, one, by teaching himself on YouTube. How many of your kids teach yourselves things? They don't, by the way, save your money. Don't buy expensive stuff because they're only going to play one time for many of your kids. And don't hire a teacher like the German or Russian lady who needs to learn how to read music first. They're not going to do it that way. They're going to feel it. And they're going to do it. So when Casey started playing guitar, he was into blues music, old soul. We went to see B.B. King. We had a chance to meet him. I said, Mr. King, could you tell my son how important it is to learn to read music? And he said, I don't know how to read music. I just feel it, man. And I was like, you're not very good, right? That's our kids. They feel, they want to experience. We're in Northern Virginia, very high. It's kind of like Overland Park, like really uptight parents and their kids want to all be successful and whatever. And so these parents, sorry, but it is. It's a nice area, and so everybody is. And so that's why there's so much stuff going on here. Anxiety and suicide and stuff happens because so much pressure on the kids, and that's a parent's issue. But anyway, so parents come up and be like, my daughter's playing piano, we have a teacher, but she won't practice her piano. By the way, your kids aren't going to practice. How many of you have discovered that already? They're not. My kid could be so good at baseball or basketball if he would just practice. They're not yet. Most of them aren't. And you're going to be like, anyway. So they're like, she won't practice. And I was like, does she enjoy playing? And they were like, yeah, well, she composes her own music, but she won't practice. I was like, she's composing her own music, and you're upset because she doesn't want to do it the way the Russian lady wants her to do it? Composing her music is practicing. That's what I mean. These kids are going to do everything opposite of the way you want. And I'm not saying it's right, but it's the way they do it. And it's easier to say, Casey learned guitar from homeless people and YouTube. So service projects are awesome for your kids. But anyway, so you take a girl. We've done this a lot with your daughters. Go to a animal shelter or a veterinarian. It's really cool. Just say, hey, free labor. My daughter loves animals. She will clean up all the dog poop, and she'll clean up everything. You don't have to pay her. Could she come over? And you know what happens every single time? The veterinarian talks to your daughter and says, you've got a gift with animals. Not very good with people, but you got a gift with animals. Ever thought about being a veterinarian? You know what's sad? For the first time in her life, someone's finally identified that. You know when it first came up in like second grade? You know in second grade, every class has like the class hamster? And guess what happened? She got in trouble because all she wanted to do was take care of the hamster. It'll make you cry if you think about it, because all those years, leave that alone. You need to do this other stuff. And we miss that her gift that God put in her was coming out in second grade, but because she wasn't doing what she was supposed to, we dismissed her gift. And only when we got her at that veterinarian's office did someone look at her and say, "You'd be a veterinarian one day." And that's the day she goes home and says, "Mom, Dad, I'm going to be a veterinarian." And the parents are like, "Not even sure you're going to make it out of middle school with those grades." And she says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go to the most expensive veterinary school in the country and waste all your money." No, I'm just kidding. Okay. She'll do it. And my final thing on this is discover what your kids care about. It's not going to be what you care about. It's going to be what they care about. And once they care about it and they start doing it, see, the girl with the soccer, she has a reason to do school now. The little kid who wants to be the video game designer is going to be in IT. He's going to do his schoolwork now. He's going to be motivated. And that girl who wants to be a veterinarian, she's going to start doing her schoolwork. Now, here's the last thing. She's not going to do it with a good attitude. I can't promise that. She will hate it every day of her life. School is stupid, it's dumb, but she'll do it. Does that make sense? And that's all I want. I sometimes tell kids, just play the game. Give them what they want. Get the piece of paper. I personally don't have a problem with that because that's what they're going to do anyway. Some classes that don't really matter in life, do the minimal work necessary. You don't want to be exhausted because you want to be able to stay up and play video games late at night. So don't put too much effort into things that you should be doing. I'm kidding. You know what I mean. I'm really not kidding with that. I believe in talking honestly to them because that's what they're going to do anyway, and I'd rather give them some wisdom in how to do it. One quick one. Giving your kids wisdom. This will apply maybe to a couple people. These are kids. My wife is a rule follower. My wife is a naturally good person. She's awesome. She will never cross the line. If you notice when I'm presenting, my feet are always off the edge. Why? Chance I could fall off. Makes it interesting to me. I like the feeling. I like the feeling. So here's what I knew about my son. My son will cross that line. How many of your kids do that with friends? Do not put your foot on the sofa. And they'll hold it like that far away, and they'll touch their heel to it. And they'll be like, "My foot didn't touch, it was my heel." And you will get wrapped up in 4 hours of arguing over it. I knew my son from an early age had a need for speed. He loved cars. So when he got his driver's license, look, you can lecture all day long. It's dangerous to speed. Don't speed, all of that. So I was teaching him how to drive. We're in Kentucky, I-64, awesome road, wide open, has a lot of hills like that. So we're driving, and I told him, I said, "Here's how we're going to do it. I know you want to go fast. I know it's going to happen, but I want to teach you to do it at the right time with wisdom. So here's when we're going to do it. Speed limit here is 70. When we get to the top of that hill, I want you to look down, make sure there are no cops, make sure there are nice soft bushes in case we crash. And then I want you to goose it. And you can go 77 miles per hour. If you go 78, you will not drive for another 6 months. Don't mess with me. Right? So you goose it, and as soon as I say brake, you better hit that brake or you lose it for 6 months. But I gave him opportunity to push the limits a little bit, but within my boundaries. Does that make sense? There's some wisdom there. I don't know how you want to apply it, but I'd encourage you to do it. It's kind of cool. Let's do, I'm going to transition. I'm going to spend the last 24 minutes and 45 seconds on some relationship stuff. Okay, everybody good with that? Let's do some marriage stuff. I just have to knock it down, so give me just a second, please. Okay, I'm going to do a few things for men really quickly. And this is for all of us, a couple setups. Purpose of relationships is transformation. It's not happiness, it's transformation. You're together with marriage is a union of two selfish people, right? Pretty much. And nobody tells you that when you get married. Now you're going to marry a selfish person who's got all kinds of issues from their childhood, and then you're going to have kids. And so you're going to populate your home with other irritating people. And so by the end of it, you're probably going to have 4 irritating people who all want their own way. And so the outcome of that is either going to be that you grow up or you grow apart because your family sees you naked. They know all of your weaknesses, so I encourage you to embrace it. For me, marriage stuff is the hardest part that I ever did. Changing as a dad, kind of was hard, but not as hard as the marriage thing was for me. So I'm going to do a few things for guys really quickly that are easy. Acknowledge your wife's emotions. When she's having a bad day, it's easy. Honey, totally get that you're frustrated. Zip. Don't say another word. Don't try to fix it. All you want to acknowledge is, got it, you're having a bad day. Do you really understand? No. You don't have to understand, but just say, like, totally get why you're frustrated. Look, we've got 2 kids and you're married to me. You should be frustrated a fair amount of the time, right? I get it. Right? Don't dismiss it. Don't fix it. Okay? Because your wife is never going to say, honey, I'm so glad I married someone who's always right. Because I can always count on you to point out when my feelings are illegitimate and it makes me feel safe to be married to you. Let's go up to the bedroom. Like, this is never going to happen, okay? Affirm each other. Here's a quick one. You're a really good mom. You know what percentage of moms feel like they're doing enough? That'd be 0%. Virtually no moms feel like they're doing well enough. You're a really good mom. You know what helps? You know what my wife used to tell me that really impacted me? And I know it doesn't sound like a big deal. I appreciate how hard you're working for us. Because that was a core part of my identity. I don't know why, but when she said that, I was like, I want to work harder, right? And then when I work harder, I'm not at home. And that's better for you as well. I'm kidding. That was before I changed. This is for the men, mainly. Stop proving your point to your wife. It took me a full year. I had affirmations on my phone. I do not have to prove my point. I do not have, because my wife would tell me something and then I counter it all the time. And eventually she said, when you counter it and point out all of my flawed thinking, it makes me feel like I'm that tall. It was life-changing for me because you know what I can do now with politics? I don't have to prove other people's point wrong. In my 53 years on earth, I have never changed someone from one political party to the other. I've only really proved that I'm a really big jerk. Right? That's why a lot of us hammer people with their Christianity and they're like, oh, you just proved to me that's why I don't want to be a Christian, right? So I try to live it out rather than do it like that. But anyway, stop proving your point. Let me get to the deeper stuff. Connecting emotionally. Okay, here's a good one. How many men out there know what it actually means to connect emotionally? Look and see, and why wives always tell us that stuff. Like, my wife used to say, I don't feel valued. And inside I was like, you don't feel valued? Here's how you're valued. I go to work every day for a company that I hate. I've wanted to murder my boss for the last 14 years. But I go to work so I earn money so we can live in a good neighborhood so we can send our child to a good school. That's how I value you. And she was like, that's not what I was looking for. I was like, well, tell me. Why'd you have to be assertive? Because my wife was never assertive. And she was like this classic. Wife texts husband, and I know sometimes dad stays home, wife works, whatever. It works both ways. Wife, I need you home. I need help with the kids. Well, every man in here, first thought is, I better get home, yell at the kids, right? I'm sticking up for my wife. But if my wife, when she started to say, when you get home, I need 12 and a half minutes of alone time, or you will see me on the evening news. So now I'm like, okay, I need to get the kids out of the house to give my wife a break. So I pull up in the car, pull some loose change out of the little cup, walk up to the front door, open up and yell, treasure hunt, and I throw coins out in the front of her backyard. Your kids will go out and look at them, and now my wife can double lock the door. There's your 12 and a half minutes. But you've got to be specific. So she would always say things like, I just want to connect emotionally. And I was like, well, we watched the Packers game last night and had some nachos. I was feeling it. That's not what she meant. So one day, I'm working. I love football season because I'm work. I own my own business, so I love my laptop. And she'd walk in the room, and I'd look up, give her a little eye contact, right? That's what we're doing. And do this. Yeah, I'm good. Not enough, right? That's not what you're looking for. So one day when she came in, I did this. And she said, that's what I'm looking for. And inside I was like, you could have told me that like 12 years ago, right? Because I don't know. I don't know what that, and she said, that's what I'm looking for because that makes me feel like I'm more important than your work. And I was like, good. Close the laptop? Good. I can do that. I'm a man, I'm pretty simple. But let's be specific with each other and tell each other, tell your husband, tell your wife exactly what you need. Being bossy is when you tell other people what to do. Being assertive is when you tell other people what you need. Once I know what you need, I can meet that need, but don't make me guess. Well, you should just know what I'm thinking. You don't even know what you're thinking half the time. So stop reading those stupid Nicholas Sparks books with the perfect man who can chop down a tree and build a canoe and a guitar and sing to his wife out on the lake in a rainstorm, right? And who makes $300,000. Those men don't exist. The books are called fiction. And stop watching those stupid romantic comedies. It's the same dumb story. Oh, they didn't like each other at first, and then there's a connection. And he knows exactly what to say. Why? Because he's reading a script. Give your husband a script and he'll say, you look beautiful today, honey. You look younger than when we were married. Anyway. Guys, leave your phone in the car when you go out to dinner with your wife. There are no kids in here, right? That can understand. So I'll do this one in a minute. I get a lot of times from men like, oh, I want to be more intimate with my wife. We'll get to that in a second. Start leaving your phone in the car. You start closing the laptop and give your wife like 90 seconds of eye contact when you come home from work. 90 seconds is a long time if you're ADD, isn't it? Right? You know how I did it when I first, this is the funniest thing. My wife's like, I just want eye contact. So I came home one day, I'm like this. She goes, you're staring at me. I was like, you said you wanted eye contact. I don't know how to do this stuff. She goes, you're staring at me like I'm some thing to watch. I was like, no, I'm giving you eye contact. She's like, dude, your dad really didn't teach you anything, did he? I was like, nope. I'm not going to go into this one. Assume the best about each other's intentions. I guarantee that narrative that you have in your head isn't entirely true. Because we build all these little narratives. Well, he just doesn't care. I guarantee he cares. He may just show you in a different way, right? Own your part. We'll get to the own your part. I don't have a lot of time. Let me do 2 stories and 2 things in this, and I hope you find it helpful. So this is very personal. So my wife and I go to marriage therapy because I didn't learn any of this stuff. And she's like, I didn't know how to do this stuff naturally. And we're in therapy, and she's like, well, you don't know how to emote. You don't know how to share your emotions. And I was like, well, I know. When you tell me something, I go in my mind, and I figure out how to do it, right? How many of you kind of do that? And so I'm like, why would I emote, right? Like, this is working for me. I figure it out. She said, you don't seem human, right? So she would come and tell me something, and rather than like say like, oh, wow, that must make you feel really frustrated. I didn't know to say that. So I'd be like, okay, let me think about it, and I'll have a little solution for you. So she's looking at the therapist, and she said, I feel like I can't connect with him. And I remember it hitting me then, I had no idea what to do. Literally had no idea. So I said, well, honey, what should I say? I shouldn't have to tell you what to say. When I'm going through something, isn't there some feeling in there? I was like, well, there's feeling, but I'm trying to figure out how to help you. And she's like, no, I want you to acknowledge what it is and just say that. And I was like, I don't know what to say. Will you tell me? She got really upset. And I remember I started crying, and I looked at the therapist, and I was like, I don't know what to say. Like, I'm not being a jerk. Like, I'm trying to be a good guy. Will you please? I remember saying, will someone please tell me what to do? And it hit me. I was like a 38-year-old man who'd been successful in the corporate world. I can work. I can be successful. I can do all these things. And I have no idea how to have a relationship with my wife. And I remember looking at her saying, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I don't know how to do this stuff. So I encourage you, be patient with your spouse. You married a broken person, and you're really broken too. And be, as long as your spouse is willing to try, hang in there with that spouse. It's not about being a good person. This was skills, so I had to practice. So she tells my wife to leave the room, and he's like, Kirk, say this. When you say that, it sounds like you're really upset. Sounds like you're really frustrated. But when I said, I was like, it sounds like you're really frustrated, honey, right? And I did that the first time. She goes, well, that's kind of wooden. And I got furious. I was like, I'm trying to change here. You got to give me some grace here because I got to learn. Now, I'm almost like a woman. I can emote over everything, and I'm almost too good at it. And my wife is like, okay, honey, you're overreacting. And I was like, don't tell me that, right? And so I feel dismissed. So I walk around now, I'm like, I don't feel like my voice is heard in this home, right? So, but this stuff is really hard. And so I encourage you to be patient with each other. So the final thing I'd hit on is own your part. What is your part? You play a part in every relationship you have. My wife and I are perfectly imperfect for each other. She grew up without a strong sense of her own identity. She didn't have any confidence, and she never really spoke up. Well, she became very small in our marriage. So I would ask her things like, where do you want to go on vacation? Oh, I don't know, I don't care. So I would choose. Well, after many years, the narrative develops, my husband is controlling. He picks out where we go. And in my head, I'm like, I've asked you. You won't tell me. See, she played her part, and I played my part. So I'm going to do kind of a fun example, but I think it's illustrative. Men will be like, I want to have sex more with my wife. Like, okay, what's your part? Okay, let's start with basics. You're doing proper hygiene. So a lot of guys into the marriage, they're like, they don't brush their teeth and they don't take showers, and they kind of smell. And I'd be like, if I were a woman, I wouldn't even be in the same room with you. So you got to own your part. That's the easy one. Don't go to bed so late. Guy rolls in at 11:30 after Sports Center. Hey, honey, you in the mood? And she's like, yeah, to sleep 3 hours ago, right? But here's the one that hits a lot. Sometimes our wives don't want to do that with us because they're just exhausted, because they handle the kids most of the time. Kids are exhausting. I can work into my job all day long. Doesn't drain me at all. I get energy from my work, and at office, I can boss people around. I can do all kinds of stuff. When I come home and there are Legos on the floor and kids got crap all over his face and my wife's upset, that's why do you think I worked late? Honey, I got to work, special project, I got to work late. Who wants to be home for bedtime? That's a miserable time, and true? So if I can be on a business trip, I beg my boss, like, please send me somewhere. I don't want to do bath time, bedtime, and ugh. Anyway, just saying it's hard. So guys, here's a good one. So your wife is overwhelmed. So what can you do to help out with that? So guy comes home, he says, honey, I want to do something new. Every Tuesday night or Wednesday night, Thursday, once a week, start with once, small progress. I've got the kids. I'm going to do homework. I'm going to do dinner time, bath time, and bedtime. Take the night off. And you'll find that many of your wives will just go out and sit in the car. Literally just do nothing, right? And it's like, how many of the wives in here, this is a funny one. Weekend, our thing was on the weekends, she would stay home with the kids, but on the weekend, then I'd take them out and she'd be home. I'd be like, what are you going to do with your free day? I'm going to clean the house. How many of you do that? I'd be like, oh, why? You like go to a spa? Nope, just want to clean with nobody else here. So anyway, so you start giving your wife a night off, a night or two off. She'll have more energy to do other things. She'll feel taken care of. But here's the part for you, for the wives, it's this. He didn't tell you how he was going to get it done. So if you come home and there are pizza boxes on the floor, this is how dinner got taken care of. He hosed the kids down for a bath. Just a little bit of cold weather is good for your nervous system, right? A cold bath is good for them. There's a little Jack Daniels bottle by the bed. He knocked them out, put them to sleep. And your appropriate response is, honey, thank you for the night off, right? You know I'm kidding. Is that pretty true? She's like, yeah, that's pretty much what Robert does. So, right? But he did it, but it's owning your part. And I would ask you to do this sometime this weekend or in the next week. Ask your spouse, I have this little thing, I like doing small things. I like really small progress. 2 things. You okay? You good? I'm good. You good? Okay, good. So, I don't know why you're walking in here. See how kind of controlling? He's like prowling for this. Whatever. So, one thing, do one small thing for your spouse. Look, the feelings go away after a little while. And they don't just magically appear, but they appear when you invest. So look, here's a good one for a hubby or a wife. Hubby, leave a little Hershey Kiss on your wife's car when you go to work in the morning. Do the purple one. It's dark chocolate. Good for her. Okay? And especially in the winter when it doesn't melt. Wife's going to come out to her car and think, someone was thinking about me. Wonder if it was that neighbor guy down the street. I'm kidding. No. But look, this is a very small thing, but watch what's wrapped up in this. The husband had to go to the store or the fridge or the whatever, grabbed that thing and had to think it through and had to intentionally go out and leave that. And he's going to kind of get some satisfaction of anticipating when his wife goes out and sees that. There's an investment there. And when you invest, the feelings start to come back, right? Send a little note with your husband or your wife off to work. Little things matter. The little one I did, my wife hated cleaning out the lint trap on the dryer. So I would go by the laundry room, and I'd just clean that up. It took me literally 10 seconds. And because I was vain, I would sometimes wait near the room when she went by and she checked, and I'd be like, yeah, I did that. I did that for you. Because I wanted the bonus points. But here's one thing. Ask your spouse this sometime. What is one thing that I could begin doing differently? Don't argue with it, as long as it's within reason, right? What's one thing that I could begin doing differently? And then do it. Don't resist it. Well, but I do all these other things. What would be meaningful for you? Some of the wives are going to be like, when you come home, will you calm the kids down? Again, I mentioned that yesterday. You start getting really good at calming your kids down, your wife will want you. Right? Because your wife loves your kids more than she will ever love you. It's true. You're not going to leave your kids, but you'll leave your husband. Right? If you give me a choice, wife's going to leave you. She's gonna, I'm not leaving my kids. But you take care of her kids, and you are gentle with them, and you calm them down, and you connect with them, she will want you. And I would encourage you in the church, and the main pastor's gone, executive pastor's here, so I may get in trouble with him. Church is a lousy job with sex and all that stuff. God designed it. Christians are supposed to have good sex, and a lot of it, to populate the earth. I'm kidding. But, no, but we're supposed to. It's an intimate connection. Make it fun again. Remember, if you grew up in a conservative home, remember when you were young and you wanted to do it all the time, but you weren't married yet? You were like, oh, let's figure out where we can get around the rules and all that stuff. You can do it now if you're married, whenever you want. So wives sometimes, pull up to your husband's office in your minivan and text him and say, hey, lunch break time. I was going to say, want a piece of this, but I'm not going to say that. But that'll change your marriage. That'll change some things. And then, look, all the men are like, this is best seminar we've been to, right? Saved it for the end, right? But then, you know what's fun? Now, that minivan becomes a little code word. And now every time you mention that word in the home, the husband and wife are like, kids, go get in the minivan. And then husband and wife are like, oh, we just did it outside my husband's office in that minivan last week. That's an awesome thing. So, nothing wrong with that. It's not more. They're married. So don't do it with other people in his office. So, but look, liven it up again, invest in it a little bit again, and learn. There's a lot of other stuff, but I've got 5 minutes. I'm going to close up because it's 12:01, and I want to honor your time. I'll close with this. I would encourage you, I would thank you for investing this time. If we can help you in any way, I'm going to stay afterwards, answer some questions. You can email us. Our email's on the bottom of your handout. I'll answer your questions. Tell me you met me here at Graceway. I'll walk this path. I'm hoping I'll do this for the next 10 or 15 years. I'll help you walk through it any way we can. If you do get the little CDs, do listen to the Strong-Willed Child one probably first. If you have questions, email. But here's the final word I wanted to do today is enjoy. I want you to begin to enjoy the strong-willed child again, because somewhere along the way, they ruined your agenda. Because all the moms in here are very purposeful people. You had a plan. You read all the books. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm never going to use TV as a babysitter. And that lasted like a week. And you're like, screw that. Watch some TV because I got stuff to do, right? Just not 3 hours of Jerry Springer. So, by the way, I've got 4 minutes. Can I do one more story? You okay? This is a really good one for your marriage and discipline. I forgot to do it before. I love this. So here's the setup. Dad comes home. Let's say you have 2 daughters. And dad tells his daughters, girls, I love my time with you. I cherish it. I love my time. We love playing prince and princess and doing all those things. But I cherish my time with my wife. One night a week, I'm going to light a candle. And I'm going to put that candle in the kitchen. And when you two see that candle lit in the kitchen, here's what it means. I'm having dinner alone tonight with my wife, and you two are not invited. Now, that's not mean. I'm not saying you're the reason our marriage stinks now. I'm not saying that. Just let know you're not invited. Because I'm having dinner alone tonight with my wife because I want that time alone. So we're going to feed you early, and while we're eating, we're going to sit you in front of a video. And again, I'm not a big fan of TV, video games, and all that stuff, but for 30 minutes of Jerry Springer won't ruin your kids. It'll make them grateful that they grew up in your home, okay? Because they're going to see the other side of life, like, that's what happens when you don't have discipline and God in your life. So, you're going to watch that. But here's what I want you to know. I'm protective of this time. If I hear a peep out of you during that 30 minutes of our dinner time, if you come near the kitchen, you will rue the day that you did that. I will be up on Saturday and Sunday morning banging pots and pans in your ears at 5:30 in the morning. The tone is, don't mess with me. It is a beautiful, beautiful thing because your kids are going to hear dad saying, I want this time, and nothing's getting in between it. It's 30 minutes. Why? Because you probably haven't had a good talk with your spouse since before you had kids, and it's going to be awkward. So, some crazy weather we've been having lately, huh, honey, right? Because you can't talk about the kids. You have to reconnect. And watch what happens. Those two kids are looking in that kitchen, and they see their mom and their dad connected. When you two walk out of that kitchen connected, that is a great form of discipline right there. And it is a beautiful, comforting thing to know my mom and dad, once or twice a week, have that candle in the kitchen, and they talk a lot about a minivan. And it's a little bit weird, but suddenly they seem happier. And now they want to get a new, bigger minivan and have stuff in it. So enjoy two things. I want you to enjoy your strong-willed child. Enjoy them. Enter into it. Stop resisting the difficulty and enter into it and find the joy. And enjoy your spouse again like you haven't. Work through, some of the moms in here especially, you have 14 years of resentments going through your head. And you're going to have to deal with those resentments and have some compassion and work through these things. You're not going to forgive it all and say like, oh, everything's good now. Work through it. But once you start enjoying each other, stuff will change in your home.